Hey, what's going on? My name is Jeremy, and I'm going to talk about how I handled chunk generation in my Minecraft clone. You can find out more about it in the description down below. In Minecraft, it seems that the world goes on forever, but how can you build that out? Obviously, it doesn't seem possible to build out an infinite amount of anything. So, how do you do it? My solution was to use chunks. In this situation, a chunk is simply a grid composed of cubes or blocks, like an 8x8 grid of grassed cubes. By using chunks, we can build out small parts of the map as we need them. This helps out with memory because we keep only the chunks we want to see. This also helps out with rendering because we can batch 1 or 2 chunks to be generated per frame, keeping the frame rate high. But how do you build out these chunks? First, we need to know where the player is at. We can simply keep the chunk the player is in memory. This ensures that we won't build out chunks unnecessarily because we can make sure that we do that once the player has left the chunk. So, how do we know when a player is in a new chunk? Chunks have an X and Z position like 0, 0. They also have a current size like 5. We can detect what chunk the player is in by using their X and Z position and making sure it is in the dimensions of the current chunk. If it is no longer in the current chunk, we know the player has left. So, how do we build out the new chunks? First, we keep the initial chunks in some kind of list or container, which is indicated by the red square. When the player moves to a new chunk, we will create a new list of the chunks the player can see. We can do this by using the new chunk and create chunks within a certain range. For example, build out chunks 1 chunk size away from the new chunk. This is indicated by the blue square. Next, we need to identify the chunks the player should be able to see, but haven't rendered yet. Any chunks in the new list, but not in the old list, needs to be initialized. We also need to remove chunks the player can't see. If the chunk is not in the new chunk list, but it is in the old chunk list, we can remove it. We also don't want to remove existing chunks. So let's start up Unity and see it in action. So this little white dot is actually my player. I'm showing the scene view so that you can kind of see the chunk generation at a larger scale. So when the player moves in some direction, you can now see the chunks being generated. The chunks are also generating in the direction the player is moving. They're also being destroyed as the player is leaving chunks. Player hits new chunks, and the old ones are deleted. Well, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you might have learned something. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. If you didn't like it, give it a dislike. And subscribe. Thanks. Bye.